Alright, we have Iron Bracket round 1 winners. Mr. T-Spin versus PennyPen. Now, I am interested to see how this match will go because Mr. T-Spin knows how to do GTR pretty well, and Penny kind of just improvises, but of course, with great improvisation comes some great surprises here. Mr. T-Spin will be giving out a 2-chain there, however, because with that kind of blunder from PennyPen, especially with like a freestyle chain like that, it's gonna like increase the risk of like your chains like cutting or unintentionally like not being as great as they should be. And putting yourself in this big change like this is also not a great thing. Probably should have opened up with some more purples in column 6 instead of just, well, I'm not sure what that plan was in the first place. But regardless, that's going to be Mr. T-Spin's point into the winners bracket of iron. You can see that Penny also stacks a little quicker, not quicker than Mr. T-Spin at times, but quick enough to where, you know, that he knows what he is doing. It's just, it's not like very viable sometimes. Unless Mr. T-Spin just doesn't see that he doesn't have a 7-chain, and also droughted in blues. With the imbalance of column 5, he had to place some filler pieces there to even reach them, so probably not the best call to put a lot of like to make your balance so not balanced. PennyPen going for another unusual chain here. Looks to be a 3, however. And Mr. T-Spin does not catch the lack of 3 chain and will be covering his column 1, which you don't want to do if you're doing a GTR like that. But of course, he does find a way to work around it with a power 3. Not going to be enough to stop PennyPen as they actually reverse all of that. And gives it right back to the sender. Still keeping it 1-1. Penny at a pretty noticeable advantage here with their board being lower. Now I do wonder that, okay, they're just going to set up for another 1 chain. Didn't see the time, didn't really see the time to really do the blocking method and actually extend their chain. Okay, so a little bit of Footsie's gameplay going on here. We're going to see Mr. T-Spin with another 2 chain here. Constant 2 chains for Mr. T-Spin here. Penny trying to desperately clean up here. Could use some more help though. Especially with some in the power department, if we say so ourselves. Has the greens to kind of extend off of it, but decides to place them over to column 4 to try to make another extension. Probably would have taken the free 1 in column 2/1. But settles for a really good power 3, putting Mr. T-Spin at a really noticeable disadvantage here. But of course, Mr. T-Spin is down, not out. So PennyPen will really have to trudge here. Didn't put those greens in column 2 curiosity, because that would have actually gotten him a bigger chain and another plus chain to that, but they just chose not to, it seems. Panically chose to pop those reds in the middle, which gave them only 1 chain compared to Mr. T-Spin's 4 chain. That's going to give Mr. T-Spin a point. Penny seems to be a bit of freestyle plus placement crisis, because they have this. I guarantee you, if they do know how to play or do GTR kind of more effectively, then they probably wouldn't have to resort to all this little power tower stacking here. Mr. T-Spin, however, does seem to be at a prime position to actually get the pieces he needs, but unfortunately he was a little bit too slow on that, so didn't get the pieces in time, and will be receiving that garbage. However, not out of it yet though. If he can clean it up, then I can see him getting a pretty decent chain, or at least getting to his chain originally. But we'll settle for a 3 chain here, just to slow down Penny's reign of terror right now. Perfectly lining up those reds to elevate the trigger, however. Another game of just neutral here, so players will have to try to finagle some sort of chain here preferably a much more than a 2 there. Not that 2s are bad at this current moment, but 2s won't get you a win right here. You need to get some higher stakes here. That 1 is definitely going to cause some trouble for Penny as well. And Mr.T-Spin got down to his chain, giving himself a free 7 chain, I believe. Yep, that's a free 7 chain for Mr.T-Spin. PennyPen desperately chaining himself. Could actually be more? No. The way those purples and blues tailed did not connect, therefore it's going to result in a cut, making Mr.T-Spin's lead 1 point stronger. See, I kind of like, it's always like a glimmer of like, a little glimmer of hope that Penny will actually do like a GTR, but it's like taken away from you when like you see like their 3rd placement. But we'll slow down Mr.T-Spin's placement here as they actually managed to time the garbage correctly. So really good plays on that. However, the pressure will have to be on for Mr. PennyPen here, as Mr.T-Spin actually gets his chain. Doesn't get the 4th chain because he's missing the greens in column 3, but enough to lock Penny out, giving Mr.T-Spin yet another point on the board. 4-1 is a pretty commendable lead right now, but if PennyPen just learns to time his attacks a little bit more correctly, then we could see some potential sweeps here. But again, Penny's just chosen to just chain higher instead of a little safer here. And Mr.T-Spin will be the one to attack first this time. Unfortunately for Penny, early 4 chain, but Mr.T-Spin also has responsive 4 chain. But the garbage is so minuscule that it shouldn't even be there. So back to neutral gaming for these players. But not for long with like Mr.T-Spin's 3 chain, and potentially another 3 chain for Mr. PennyPen too. Okay, a little bit more power on Penny's side, giving Mr.T-Spin a little bit more to work with here. But again, down but not out. The board, I dare say, is kind of even right now. If Penny can get those blues and the yellows to connect, could see some power chaining going on here, or not. But of course, two chains back to back could be just as effective in some cases. But the panic 1 chaining responses aren't gonna do it for him, and unfortunately that will cut, but we'll give him a 2 chain regardless. So not a lot of like real clean chaining happening right now. There's both players are basically just trying to dig back down to the bottom, or trying to dig their opponents down to the bottom. Good thing that garbage did not fall in column 6 for PennyPen, because that would have actually locked them out of like a really good dig chain there. But yeah, probably could use some more purples for Pen there, but didn't really get them. 7-1. Mr.T-Spin getting to the rest of his chain, popping out a 4 and putting PennyPen down another point. 5-1 is still a very commanding lead. Having 4 points over your opponent in this kind of matchup is really, really good for endgame. Not sure if Penny noticed it, but he did put his all clear to the side. That does waste like about a frame, but of course sometimes it doesn't really matter all that much, but still. He just kind of just sets his pieces to the side. But regardless, Mr.T-Spin was locked out of all of his triggers and couldn't get the all clear back. So that's gonna be a 2-5 for Penny though. Still in Mr.T-Spin's favor, but Penny could be running this back a little bit. And you never know. We could be seeing these players in like later in the bracket. These could be the grand finals right here. Mr. T-Spin's gonna have to figure out what to do with that yellow in column 1 though. That's not a very safe transition or way to transition in column 1 with GTR. In GTR, you don't want to make like the column 2 higher than column 1, especially if you don't have anything after that for your transition. Nice fix with the blues and greens on column 2 though, but a bigger chain definitely was missed out with the limitation of the transition in column 1. But that's going to be a 6-2 for Mr. T-Spin here. Match point, and the winner will be moving on to the further into the winners bracket, and the loser will be getting sent to the losers bracket of Iron bracket. Mr. T-Spin seems to have a pretty solid chain here. Could launch it all right now, but decides to wait out a little bit. PennyPen is looking to send over a power 4. But if Mr. T-Spin gets his next piece, which he does, this could save his tournament point here. Nice 5 chain from Mr. T-Spin here. Penny's not out of it yet, but they are at a great massive disadvantage right here. Needs to slow down Mr. T-Spin at any cost. So those power 2s, power 3s really have to come in clutch here. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be a power 2. It seems to be a normal 2 with just like 5 places in it. Not enough garbage to stop Mr. T-Spin though. Mr. T-Spin will be setting off his chain, solidifying his win in this investment through the iron bracket. And PennyPen will seem to be moving on to the losers bracket of the iron bracket. We will be seeing Mr. T-Spin in the next bracket. Sorry, the next round of iron bracket.